Hello, it's George Lees again. Getting towards the end of the month of July now, and I found some horrible things out about even the fascist jokes. Yeah, the little red girl in Schindler's List. I'll show you the movie clip and then I'll tell you what the story's all about. It's about a medical condition that afflict the fascists. Yeah, and it's really funny when you find it out. Yeah, and you're an innocent fascism researcher for all of your days. Yeah, it's the red shield. Yeah, red red infection. Yeah, that is rubella. Okay, watch this. Oh, we've got no sound. Sorry folks, I'll take it back. German green though. So that is the joke. It is. Yeah, the little red joke is the risk for the fascists who start the war. All sides, all the Freemasons, all the people in the lodge, all the monarchies, I'll tell you about them later. Yeah, and all the people that are the presidents in America, all of them are Christians or Judaism worshippers, and all of them are genocidal, as you began to learn. Right then, so there he is. That is the global sign on his shoulder for the Freemasons. The Schindlers are related to the Eisenhower family. Yeah? And they interlock to the people that are Marlene Dietrich, and all of them get shipped into America just in time to be safe from the war, like the Dutch fascists, yeah, and the royals whose children are born blind with this condition. Yeah, and he died as late as 2004. That is the massive founder of the Bilderberg movement. I've got lots to tell you on him. Yeah, his daughter was born blind with rubella. German. Yeah, and he was on the reparations panels for all of the carving up of Europe as a Nazi pre-war and as a German. Yeah, and his estates are Lip Biesterfield. Yeah, and it's right next door to Hesse Cassel. Yeah, where the sectioning is still done for the Mental Health Services Scotland. Right then, so that's the swastika. And this is rubella in their jokes. So there she is, Little Red, in the 9/11 massacre, yeah, to demonize Islam. Little Red was Princess, the redhead one, Fergie, yeah, who does the toe sucking for the Piso jokes in the Bible fraud, and all of them are in the same teams that kill for profit. Yeah, that's not killing, it's mass murder, and you can see what they're the victims of themselves, the acts of God. Yeah, when they cut down all of the Jews, all lined up to be shot at. Yeah, and the joke about that is that is the Junin gas, and that is their official business centres. Yeah, which had to be taken down by Bomber Harris after the war was over. Yeah, and you should see where Prince Bernhard is during the war, all over the Playboy network with loads of bastard kids. Yeah. Don't know how many of them were born blind. It's not something that they would like to talk about because of this illness. Yeah, and that in Britain, when I was an academic in Putnam's University of Sunderland launched the massive accusations that the autism injections were giving people, that the MMR injections for measles, or whatever, the rubella is the last one, I can't remember what the middle one was. Yeah, all of that was a multiple load of medicines, and you had very little option but to take it, because the medics profit from it. You've learned all those lessons. Yeah, I'm now a total naturalist. If I ever had my children again, I would not give them immunisations. I would tell them that the gods will look after them. But what the immunisation does in this case is, if you get the illness in pregnancy, it has terrible sequelae for the embryo that's in your womb. Yeah, and that's what happened to Princess Christina in the family. That she's the child legitimately of the woman that is, she is, I forget the name of the queen, but we'll see that when we get to the tabs. Okay, so do you get it? This is the risk to the fascists on all sides. Yeah, because I'll tell you horrible stories again about Ian Fleming. Flemings are still walking around my town with sticks on each side. Yeah, and those are the ones that work in the surgery, that give the medication to people who are prepared to tell stories about genocide like this. Yeah, and Ian Fleming is the man that allowed Prince Bernhard to become, yeah, a major double agent, yeah, under Churchill's thrall. Yeah, and that is the Churchill, FDR and Stalin. All of them are trained by Rothschild. Yeah, and that is the rotten red shield joke. That is the rotten red infection that they're getting here. And it's ever so funny if you're in the back room, or if you're Ralph Fiennes or Helen Hirsch, and you know that the Fienneses are related to Dick Cheney, who's in my town still. Yeah, he's an incredibly gifted man, the body double. He can play the guitar like Elvis. Yeah, much better than me in the videos I've made. Let's just watch the horrendous killing, and then the signature of the Piso horse coming in at the end. Yeah, with the tweed jackets, which typify everything that is the aristocracy taking over the whole world, and all of the vast tracts of land in it. No, sorry. So, if you run wars for profit and you fund all sides and you kill all sides so that you can work with the kings and queens and the prime ministers in those countries, yeah, who are trained like Stalin in London, yeah, and like Hitler in Liverpool and Tavistock, yeah, then you get what the gods give you in the end, yeah. And the little brother of the stammering king died as soon as he got in the airplane in the war that they engineered, and his name was Prince George, yeah, Duke of Kent. That's the massive story that I've told you before, and Greg Hallett has told you before, James Henry Fetzer, the one about the Duke of Kent being the Magio Magistrorum in the Freemasons globally, and he is based in Kensington Palace, which is the joke about KP and Calpurnius Piso and the false Bible, and on it goes. Right then, let me show you some of the tabs, and you will be shocked. I was shocked that Bernhard guy is a bastard, yeah, total bastard. And I feel sorry for his daughter, because she looks like a spirited person, and she's now married to someone from fucking Cuba, a different set of mafias, okay. And Bernhard lived on right up to 2004, when we were with this team with the All Blacks in the year ahead in they were in New Zealand sponging, yeah, off all that Tony Blair's spin doctors could get. That's Dr. Andrew Wakefield, who used to work with the Sunderland people. He was based in one of the London hospitals working on MMR and the autism risk. And there's a huge amount of evidence that antipsychotic drugs, which the ones that they were going to give to me, and epileptic drugs, yeah, give you these syndromes of autism. But the MMR was the scapegoat, and that is the professor that took the fall, okay. And there's a Professor Walker Smith. I'm not sure why they've got those obfuscation tools. It's just to make this story more complicated. He was forced out of Britain, yeah, and the Sunderland unit was still going when I left for New Zealand, but they get smaller and smaller and smaller, and all of it scares the shit out of every mum in every country across the world, especially the elite ones, now that they understand that the gods chase them with this. And the symptoms include rheumatism, they include testicular expansion, yeah, it includes all sorts of things that you know, people will be afflicted with, and they're dead scared that the gods will get them. That's why they've been in the New World Order chasing solutions for what's the one that Bill Gates works on all of the time? Oh, I thought I had more pictures. Bill Gates works on the one that FDR got after he demonized Stalin. No, he got his heart attack immediately after demonizing Stalin, but when he was a youngster he got God almighty, polio. Yeah, Bill Gates wants it cured for the elites that get it from the gods, so that they can continue to sin and kill everything that moves and profit from it. That's why Bill Gates is the world's richest man. I used to respect him a lot because of all of his inventions, and he is the one, after all, that is responsible for me being able now to get the news out with all of my friends across the world. Yeah, yeah, tiny number of us, but they are now quaking in their boots, because God is magnificent, and the Thor joke is all through the history of the family that is Theresa May's. Yeah, the Mays have married into a family that is in the borders called the, let me just look it up on the tabs. They are called the, and since I was a milk boy delivering milk to the Black Douglas's homes, I have been aware that there's a family called the McCorkadales that live in the borders. Yeah, they are the fathers and the sires initially of the Ogilvies of Balmoral that are now sainted because of the magnitude of these frauds against the people. That's Saint Ogilvie of Balmoral, yeah, Saint MacKillop of the RBS, They think you're all fucking stupid. And this is Prince George, the Duke of Kent, George VI's youngest brother, with male issue, actually, yeah, in place when they chose the stammering king, the imbecile, yeah, who had to make all of the speeches. And it is absolutely ruthless what they do in these stories, because the story I told you yesterday about Thor being replaced by the god of humour that is Loki, that is Log in the movie. Yeah, that is the King's Speech movie about the killing of 45 million people, and Log is the speech therapist that puts Thor. Yeah, Thor is, yeah, not in that story, but Loki is the Norse god of humour. Yeah, and that is in the sadly in the Robin Hood film. Yeah, when Errol Flynn steps into the chamber and interrupts the dinner, yeah, his lover in the end of the movie is called Marion of Locksley, and that is Lucky again. And all of the stories in Scotland for the Freemasons, yeah, involve the Logies, and they play golf with my grandpa, and it's ever so funny. Yeah, but thank you to the doctors in my town. Dr. Cameron passed me again today. Yeah, he and Dr. Poole. I was a victim of an illness called infection of the tonsils. Yeah, and I can show you how closely related that is to the issues that we've got with the rubella. Yeah, and they lopped my tonsils out, and they knew that I was going to come onto this earth. Yeah, I was born onto the Balfours estate, and I could have been killed in the sick children's hospital at Edinburgh, but I came out safe. Yeah, and I've been getting some of the symptoms for this illness, and I think that will be giving me immunity. So keep your heads down if you're doing anything bad. Yeah. It is amazing how the gods put the messages across if you're wise enough to see them coming. Okay, so this is George VI, youngest brother, with male issue before he died in the aircraft militias that were then employing Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands. He's a Nazi all the way through his life. He's actually a German. And that is the Lip Biesterville joke. It's right in the middle of Germany. It's on the east side of west side of Germany, and it is right in some of the jokes. It's right up close to the Brandywine joke that is Berlin, but it is to the west of Poland, and that is all of his affinity for the Poles when he's negotiating the outcomes and the land carving up in what are the Nuremberg-like trials. So the relative of Schindler, yeah, appoints him as the head of the forces in Europe in 1945 when they were given the nod to kill everything that moved, particularly if it was communist from Russia, yeah, and if it was a Jew, yeah, and that is the man that then tells you that the Jews are really worthy people, because the ones that were the quislings and turned Nazi, yeah, are the ones that survived the war, and that's why they become the American magnates, and that is the Warner Brothers. And it's all through the story. Okay, so I'll get rid of the words on the right. Okay, so do you get it? That is St. Ogilvy. The McCorquodales that are married into the May bloodline are also the elder sisters of Princess Diana, and her bloodline is all fucked up because her mum was shagged by Goldsmith, and it is all totally fucked up because that is the consanguinity index. That means that if you keep having children with your first cousins, like the Duke of like Prince Philip does. Prince Philip married his second cousin, and all of the royals and all of the Rothschilds in the early days marry their first cousin, and they have no qualms about that until the children start dying in the gurney. Okay, so Duke of Kent, George VI's youngest brother with male issue, actually died in the imbecilic stammering King's War. Okay, and his mum was Marina, and you should see the jokes about the terrible shipping conditions and the crashing of the ships all through all the wars to get the numbers down. But the Liverpool docks were owned by Sir Walter Scott. Yeah, and they have massive accidents in inverted commas, but the inquests are totally fudged, and they assign them to be accidents, and nobody gets the blame for it. And dozens and dozens of innocent workers, yeah, the people that are claimed to be Billy Connolly and the riveting people, yeah, they died in horrible deaths in the docks that I've visited when on my visits to Liverpool University. And it's a red brick institution, and for them that is the rivers of blood joke. Yeah, and all of the places that have the docks in them, yeah, they are iconically named as the Morpeth Dock. Yeah, that is for the Dukes of Northumberland. Yeah, that's Pippa Middleton's lines, and all of the links to the Percys that are in the Roman court in the Bible stories. Yeah, and that is also the Mitford sisters and the lovers of Hitler, and all of these people are out and out fascists, and it is absolutely sickening. So he's called Prince George of Cambridge, and can you see now why we have a new Prince George of Cambridge already, just to cover everything up? And Mountbatten was murdered by Prince Philip, and he is a Mountbatten because he's married to his second cousin. Right then, let's get the words across a bit, and we'll go through it, and I'll take you down. I could take you into the Theresa May bits, but I have not completely solved those issues yet. I want you to see how big a crook don't know whether to start with that. Let's show you Prince Bernhard first, okay? He's massive profiteer. Yeah, he's a Nazi out and out. He's the founder of Bilderberg. He's the founder of World Wildlife Fund with Prince Philip, and all of it is just a massive land grab. And he's a dead ringer for Kevin Spacey, and I would not be at all surprised if he is in the bloodlines and the bastard children. Yeah, and the Schomburgs, you recognise that name already? That is the Schomburgs that were the ambassadors for Holland, or the Netherlands, or the Dutch. Sorry, the ambassadors for Germany. Yeah, because Lip is on the edge of Germany. Yeah, it's now been Dutch since the war reparations. Yeah, and all of it is a massive stitch up, and Schaumburg is the architect who built Michael Ancram's secret house, and he is in the Marquis of Lothian bloodline, spelt slightly different with an O in the middle instead of Austria. Yeah, that's Schaumburg Scott in Michael Ancram, the Dutch Boer War scams, and the links to the, what does that say? Sorry, wrong computer. So this is the Dutch fascists, and Bernhard comes next. Okay, let me just take you through this because it took me ages to find the Montefiore's linked into the Duchess of Sutherland, but the Schomburgs and the Scots are the lineages that are running. The Scots are the massive presence at Abbotsford, Freemasons, and running the whole of Europe by Freemasonry, and all of these wars are a Masonic tragedy, and they think it's really funny in the lodge. Okay, do you get it? That's the Duke of Kent, who was not picked because he's intelligent. He gets in the aircraft and he gets killed in the war that they engineered, and they allowed the stammering king to be I can't remember what he was in Operation Winnie the Pooh. I think he was Christopher Robin, the author of the thing. Yeah, and Fleming runs the whole fucking show, and he kills everything that moves, and he lives the rest of his life in the havens determining the future of Syria funds with all the Flemings on his boards. Yeah, so that's the Schomburg Scott, links to the Jewish Policy Studies units. The Ancram Schomburg Scotts were educated in Leiden, and they became the Pi Pilgrims, sailed from and shared the sun god joke on the poppies and the poppies on Remembrance Sunday. So the sun god is on the Dutch pilgrims that are Michael Ancram's relatives, yeah, and they have that on their shield still. Okay, and the LOKI thing is right through the whole of the story. Okay, and I did not realise it till this afternoon, and when I did realise it, the clouds went right in and it was sinister again, and I thought that we were going to get another one of those massive lightning storms. Okay, the princely castle at Detmold, and there is Prince Bernhard of Lippe-Biesterfeld in 1942. Kevin Spacey lookalike. Yeah, and Kevin Spacey is the one who plays the cripple Virgil Kint, and Virgil is in the Piso family and is an author of the Tacitus output in all of the false news that is world history told by the winners. Yeah, I don't know whether or not Bernhard saw himself as a winner as he died the horrible death, but he was in his 90s and he was sickly all through his life. At least that's in the Wikipedia profile. Okay, so that picture was taken in 1942. Yeah, the House of Lippe is the former reigning house of a number of German states, and you should see his wife. She's just like that breed of dog that is in the bulldog sector at the dog show. Yeah, I should not say that because the families live on and they're now fascists from Argentina. Okay, I think that's all we've got on there. Let's get Bernhard profiled. He's a bastard. Okay, let's go to the top. Okay, there's the British rugby people in 2005 profiteering in New Zealand, who were Tony Blair's spin doctors, and that one there was on the tour as the English coach, yeah, who'd already won the World Cup in Australia 5 years before. There's McGeechan, and he's a money launderer with the people that are Todd Blackadder in Dunedin, yeah, and Andy Irvine, massive financial magnate, picked to be the Lions leader in the next tour 5 years on. I've got all their director numbers and they're all fraudsters. Yeah, and the other one is a Yorkshireman, and his name is not Underhill, but he used to play on the flank with my mate Mickey Skinner. I can't mind his name. And there is peaceful little New Zealand. It's still Her Majesty's. And there is the Christian joke, yeah, when the Dutchman and all of the Pilgrim Fathers get their hands on it, it becomes Christmas merchandising and the sponge with the vinegar on it for Jesus. Yeah, and that is the Christmas joke in Dunedin. The year that we went there, and Tony Blair had already for 2 years been brutalising Iraq. Yeah, and the inquest chair is not even mentioned as a profiteer with Rifkind in the recent shenanigans that have gone on. Okay, let's go right to the top now and get on with the story about this man, because he is really sick. Yeah, there's the picture of her looking like the bulldog, and there's the dead Mountbatten going by, and all of those stories in Britain you now know because of Greg Hallett's courage. Yeah, and his photos are telling. Yeah, there he is looking like the mafia as he gets involved in the weapons sales of the aircraft that he's supposed to be the commissioner for. And there's a gas mask in the back just for a laugh, to give it that sinister, yeah, just to let them think that it is, yeah, the mafia what is doing it, not the Prime Minister in our country and the Royal Dutch Shell profiteer. Yeah, that is the Schiphol airport, everything they own. Yeah, and all of them are just the Bears Rothschild jokes. Yeah, and that is the little red joke too. Do you get it now? Okay, and there's the current New World Order people that link into him since he founded the Bilderbergers. And the amounts of money in today's terms that he robbed when he got involved in the Lockheed scams, and there she is. She's a lovely bulldog person. Would not like to meet her in the dark. Yeah, him I would take on, yeah, because he does all of his profiteering from the back room, and then he goes to Canada to be even safer. Yeah, and that's them owning the Schiphol airport where my mate runs the drugs still. All of them. They had massive floods in Amsterdam in 1954, because that was when the Royal Dutch family got involved in selling and marketing the cocaine in Philips light tubes. That is the Dutch owned electricity company in Amsterdam, and the floods were absolutely massive all across England, all across the whole of that Flemish coast where the Pilgrim Fathers came from. And the narcotics were traded with New Zealand so that they could then use the proceeds to fund the launch of the IRA and train them in Spain, fascist Spain, yeah, and all of it. They get what they deserve in the end. And not till today did I realise that the little red joke is their fear that there are gods and they know they're coming after them. And you should have seen the lightning storms, yeah, when I made the revelations on Thor the thunder god being replaced by his sister as a cross-dresser so that he could win back the stolen hammer that allows him to make the lightning storms. He's got that hammer back, yeah. Pope Benedict and Pope Francis know that. All of the photos and footage of the lightning storms at the Vatican when Pope Francis was inaugurated have now been taken down to try and make it look as if the gods do not object to the genocidal leaders, yet that ran the Operation Condor and the Operation the Caravan of Death genocides in the stadia in Latin America, yet under all of the thrall of the fascists and the leaders who come together at Bilderberg. Yeah, just founded in the 1960s with Harold Wilson and the Piso pipe. Right, let's get down through it and just show you the headlines of what this bastard does. Right through his life, he's a fascist when Hitler's prancing around. Died 1st December 2004, aged 2003, in the University Medical Centre Utrecht in the Netherlands. Okay, and he was buried at Newkirk, Delft in the Netherlands. And there's his offspring. Princess Christina is the one who was born blind, and there's a tab on her, I think, and she has rubella, yeah, the little red disease. And a lot of them abdicate because they have fallouts, yeah, and they have people that are in the occult, in the court, yeah, working with the woman that is the wife of this man, and they are very much rivals because the counsel that they get from the fascists and the warmongers does not tally with what they get from the witches in the back room, and it's just amazing. So Julliana falls out with him for her life, and she effectively abdicated to show that she didn't want to be part of it. Right then, let's get going. And this is so the mother is this one, and if you remember the Valkyrie film, the Cockney who gets executed and rants at Hitler, at all of the inquest chairs who are the Whitney Houstons, yeah, of Butlins, yeah, that's Whitney is the Prime Minister's constituency before the Prime Minister was forced to resign thanks to me, yeah. Whitney Harris was the inquest chair at Nuremberg, and the Krams got executed in the story. That is the lie, yeah, that's the von Krams that are the mothers, yeah, of the Dutch fascists, yeah. Prince Bernhard of Leip, he's a Lutheran, yeah, and then when they get near death and they get all those symptoms, they suddenly go a little bit more moderate. Too late. Yeah, but he's had a great innings in cricket parlance, okay, non-profit director. You will see the truth about that later on. Yeah, and when I was a boy in the 1970s, Willie Ormond earned £4,000 a year, and I thought that was a fortune. This man gets millions for his scams in selling the aircraft for NATO that he's buying as the head of the Dutch armies, yeah, who were totally swept away by Hitler. They did not fight at all, you remember? Yeah, and he's straight into Britain and the free Dutch and the free Polish that are profiteers, and I have their director numbers even now, and they're still trading. Yeah, that's the tragedy. All of them still trade, and they're all over Europe. And I talked to one of my favourite Freemasonic informants the other day, and he openly declared that there were German prisoner of war camps in this region, there were Italian prisoner of war camps, and there was no combat in this region. Yeah, and that is the same story all over the country. They're in those camps so they can be released, they can marry into the citizens, and all of the indigenous races that God planted everywhere on this world because they're suited to that place, yeah, have now been bastardized by that master plan. Yeah, and the people still bring in the orphans, yeah, and they interbreed with them, and that's Obama's story. And his joke is about Honolulu, and that word there, I cannot pronounce it properly. Let's quickly see it because I'll forget to tell that story. Okay, Honolulu is Pearl Harbor. Yeah, that is the massive joke about taking, and it's right across next to Japan, and the Japanese, yeah, get told to bomb it so that we can engage in the massive genocide that FDR engineered. Okay, and there's the word in Germany or in Austria for the master race that Honolulu is based on. Yeah, Hohenloe, founder Albert the Bear, the Honolulu and Rothschild Pearl Harbor jokes. Yeah, so this is the county and principality of Hohenlohe, Grafschaft, Fürstenham, Hohenlohe. Holy Roman Empire, 1450 to 1806, and then they had another set of reparations, using bastards like Prince Bernhard to carve up the whole world, yeah, into elite family packages. Yeah, and the commies get shot in the death camps, and the traitors get trained in the death camps, and that is the Great Escape jokes, and that is the Colditz story. Yeah, for the Brookses of Ednam House, and for Mrs. Hannah Mary Brookdale of the Rothschild dynasty that are the bears in the woods. Yeah, so do you get it? Honolulu is in the Alps too. Right then, so Bernard, the bastard, yeah, with the bulldog for a wife. Okay, so he's so bombastic and right wing that he needed a gun carriage to be buried on. Yeah, first time that ever happened. And when he was getting the kids christened, they did not bring the water in from the River Jordan. Yeah, massive jokes about false Christianity. All of them know it because they're in the inner circle. Yeah, and they are in the Lutheran and the murderous Protestant and Catholic denominations that are in that 30 years war when FDR's family went to America. Yeah, all of them bail out to safety with their massive weaponry, and they take down all of the indigenous peoples. On and on and on it goes. Oh, sorry. So, he's the Count Bernard of Biesterfield. You should see his name in hyphenated. Yeah, it's amazing how many bloodlines are all married in. Oh, sorry, we didn't get to the top. So, mother, Armgard von Kram, Lutheranism, Protestantism, non-profit director, conservationism in the world, wildlife, shoot everything that moves sector, yeah, and shoot all of the natives as poachers. Okay, there's the names. He is Prince Bernhard, Leopold, Frederick, Everard, Julius, Coert, Karl, Gottfried, Peter of Lippe-Besterfield. That is the Pi Peter joke, in a way that you might now begin to see that that is the pier in every big city around the world, particularly in Naples and Brighton, for the German kings and the monarchs. Born as Bernhard Friedrich Eberhard Leopold Julius Karl Gottfried Peter Graf von Besterfield, 29th June 1911 to 1st December 2004, 90 years old, yet the husband of Queen Julliana, the boxer dog. Popular figure by the majority of the Dutch for his performance as a combat pilot and his activities as a liaison officer and personal aide to the Queen during World War II. Now, I don't know whether or not that is, that must be the Dutch Queen, because we do not have an English Queen, because when they had the opportunity of picking the man who was the male child-bearing father, they did not pick him, and that was the Prince George, Duke of Kent, that is the man that runs the Masons all over the world. 33-degree Mason, that's the same joke as sending America to the moon with the 33-degree American Masons flag. And all of it I'll tell you about later on when we get down to the Reavers of the Borders, and the Black Douglases are in it again. I'm hoping to see them at the concert. Ever so romantic people now in the bloodline, but they're totally treasonous. And every one of the Scottish clans is the same. You should see that joke. It is the same joke for the what was the family I told you that are married into Theresa May's stammering frauds. It was the so they are the McCorkadales, and they're into the lineages with the Princess Di, and I've forgotten what I was going to tell you about them. But this story is too big to tell. I've got loads of tabs that have had no attention since I profiled Obama coming out of Honolulu. The massive joke. He's not even an American citizen. And his name is Sutorius, which is in the Bible, in the Old Testament, and is in the Piso story, because they are the New World Order authors that write all the lies about what the world is now. So, and there's what I was going to tell you about the Scottish mafias, just in case I don't have time. Look up the Bell and the Flora mafias. So William Bell and Flora McCorkadale, the treasonous names Blake, Douglas, Elliot, etc., right into Cumbria, and the Loki, Lockerbie, Marion of Locksley jokes, the Reavers and the Rivers of Blood. That is the Dutch Barneville dart players that are the relatives of the Roosevelts, with their relatives in the Selkirk cemeteries, and that is just fucking vicious. It's profiled further down. So Angel Fire Source, so Loki is Lockerbie, and that is profiled in this Scottish website, that you have a mid something or other. So Loki is Loki at the Kelso Golf Club, and sadly Loki is Marion of Locksley de Havilland in the Dutch fascist crimes of Flemings, pick German King Bernhard, and all the Berties are the Robertian Capitan Master Race. So when Prince George is picked, it's a tragedy for Queen Victoria. Sorry, when Queen Victoria's bloodline is, the abdication, they replace him with another Bertie, and that is the massive Robertian Capitan Master Race, all sung about by Scottish and German Masons, and de Havilland runs Hearts College now. That is the woman that plays Marion of Locksley in Robin Hood. Yeah, and that is another massive aircraft film. Yeah, they get involved in all the Airbus wars with the Concords and things later on, and that is the links to pharma, because the people that we told you about the other day are in this story too. That is the Hoffmans. Yeah, they are in the story about the Dutch royals. Yeah, and the people that were the I forget what the other mafia families are, but this is the same joke about Loki. And let me just show you that, just in case you think I've dreamt it up. Yeah, when you see the names and the proclamations that they make. So the Elliots are the people that have the place called Springwood. Yeah, and I've met all this weekend, I've been meeting people from the Duke of Northumberland's territory, and they are the thorns on Jesus' crown at Calvary Hill joke. They are the Thorntons who work with the Duke of Northumberland, and I've met them in town last night, and I became their Facebook friend of some of them. Yeah, it's massive, and that is the Thor people, which displace Thor from his role as a god and replace him with Jesus Christ, who never ever lived. Right into my region, right into the Duke of Northumberland's workforce. Yeah, some of them have had terrible strokes, yeah, since they used to be my friend, yeah, and they were the housemaids for the Duke of Northumberland, and he's got his shooting lodge with the blackbirds and the fascism flying out of the Piso pie on the wall. But it's not a vagina. But although I've never been there, yeah, the beaters tell me that they have seen that. Yeah. So this is the bells of the borders. Yeah, and it links you into the Douglases, who are the Dukes of Buccleuch, and the Black Douglases, and the people that live, yeah, right by Heaton, and right in the valley of the Teviot, where the McCorkadales used to get my milk. And there's a McCorkadale in St Boswell's, and they were married to the May family, but all of this stuff has been taken down off the internet about anything to do with Philip May or the husband of Theresa. I've got some genealogy sites on there, and I think it must be that one. This is turning into a hopelessly complex set of facts with nothing stringing them together. I'm really sorry, but it's a massive story to tell, and they're prepared to even saint the farmer profiteers that are the Ogilvies. Yeah, live in Balmoral, and when we went to Balmoral, yeah, to look at the beautiful River Dee, yeah, we could not afford the car park, and I refused to pay for it. Yeah, that's Her Royal Highness, the richest person on the globe. Yeah, in the Piso bloodline. So let's get back to the Dutch fascists, and then we'll see how all of it links to Canada, Peebles, the Tweedsmuirs, and the profiteering, and all of the forces, and then all of the reparation and inquests beyond it. Okay, so stammering. Okay, so here he is. He's got the gun carriage for his funeral. Oh, we keep going down the page every time I change it. So there she is, looking like the bulldog. We've done that, I think. Other scandals were to be revealed in recent years, in later years. Okay, so the Dutch States General voted against criminal prosecution when he was running the aircraft scams, £1 million per deal. Yeah, that was the time when the Scottish football manager was earning £4,000, and I thought it was a vast fortune, and it was in those days. Yeah, and now every British student comes out with the 4 years honours degrees, £70,000 in debt. that David Cameron got for nothing. Yeah, there's Mountbatten. Sorry, I just keep... There's so much to tell that I'm struggling with it. And there's always fascist friends. Let's just look at the photos. Okay? Okay, so all these affairs. British Conservative... Dutch historian Cis Vasseur claimed that former British Conservative Cabinet Minister Jonathan Aitken, that's the employer of my friend Rebecca Strongmire, yeah, and now I think the employer of the former MP for Blackpool, who is her husband, and they are in Berlin together working on global education and the Bill Clinton Jonathan Aitken frauds in education in Africa. Yeah, they arrange congresses for the impoverished countries. It's all done in electric and computerized ways. Okay, so he was the result of a wartime affair between Prince Bernhard and Aitken's mother, previously Penelope Maffei. Sorry, I've done that wrong again. I saw the picture and I felt compelled to tell you it. I'm never going to get through it. Yeah, there's the little sisters that are born okay. Yeah. And the eldest daughter is Princess Beatrix, former Queen of the Netherlands, 1938. His other daughters with Julliana are Irene, Marguerite and Christina, blind at birth in 1947. In the middle, just beyond that brutal war. Okay? And there they are in the marriage carriage, and she ain't no looker. Okay? Looks a bit like my sister Joyce, but you must not tell her that. She lives in Crewe, right next door to Britain's richest man. You must not tell her that. Oh, I think we've done all of that. Let's just look at the pictures. That's a good way. Let's look at the pictures and my summaries. Okay, so President in 1961 in the World Wildlife Fund for Nature. Yeah, that's the massive land grabs. Yeah, he's Order of Merit of the Federal Republic of Germany because he is a German, proud Nazi, right into the launch of the war. In 1954 he was co-founder of the International Bilderberg Group, which met annually and since then discussed in fucking Bavaria, yeah, in Davos, the master race's homeland. He was forced to step down from both groups after being involved in Lockheed bribery scandal. Scandals and insinuations, the Hoffmans affair. Yeah, you remember my revelations about FDR's family linkages to the Hoffmans and the Barnevilles of Selkirk? Yeah, and the Dutch dart-playing Barnevilles, the Lockheed scandal. Yeah, Project Lock, that is the Loki jokes in the Stammering King's speech. Isn't it funny for the Masons? Arthur Hasty and creme de la creme Telfer, who was with the Lions in 2005. Yeah, and Tony Blair's spin doctor, and it's quite sickening that those are local amateurs when they were boys and are prepared to asset strip the whole game and launder the money out on behalf of David Murray and Julian Callum Lamont and all of those interlocking directors that I've dubbed on the internet. Other controversies. Yeah, let's dish the dirt. After World War I, Bernhard's family lost their German principality. Isn't that a tragedy? And the revenue that had accompanied it. But the family was still wealthy, and he's the one that allocates to all of the new people all of the land. Yeah, as the war crimes investigator appointed by IKE Eisenhower. Yeah, the leader of the Allied armies, yeah, with the Free Polish helping them with the profiteering and sweeping back into the Poland that they deserted to become the Warner Brothers et al. And all the folk that get ever so sheepish in my town, Cliff. Yeah, it's not a crime for your generation. I don't know whether your parents were involved, but if you were to come forward and tell me the whole story, it would be a lot simpler for the world to escape all of those complexes of guilt. Okay? Family was still wealthy, and Bernhard spent his early years at Reckenwald, the family's new estate in East Brandenburg, that is 30 kilometers east of the river Oder, yeah, and that is Berlin. Yeah, that's Brandenburg. Yeah, they make it sound as if it is miles and miles from Poland, but it is actually in Poland, and that is the Berlin Wall that everybody thinks is in the middle of Germany. It's right across at the death camps, yeah, for obvious reasons. Yeah, and the boards are called gymnasia. Yeah, and when he was 12 he was sent to, he was sent to board at the gymnasia in Zulaku, that's the schools, yeah, and that is in Berlin, which is Brandenburg, the Brandenburg gates in the Berlin Wall. Bernhard suffered from poor health as a boy. Prince wrecked several cars and planes in his lifetime, studied law, yeah, predicted he would not live long at the University of Lausanne, Switzerland in Berlin, where he acquired a taste for fast cars, Piso horses and big game hunting safaris, killing everything that moves. Yeah, I believe that the gods have placed the animals on this earth to be the representatives, yeah, the bird stories and all of the stories. So the tigers, yeah, are doing God's work, and they get gunned down, yeah, and they are now almost extinct, and that's in the the Gladiator movie with the tigers on the end of the leads, yeah, and even the slaves are able to relinquish the gods and put a knife in its throat. He suffered a broken neck and crushed ribs in a 160 kilometers per hour car crash and in 1938. So the gods are doing everything we can to try and get him, yeah, but they did not get him until he was 90. But they got his daughter in the womb, yeah, with the little red joke. While at university, Bernhard joined the Nazi party. He also enrolled in Sturmbelling, yeah, Reuter SS. So this is the man that does the allocations of everything that is the carve up of his Germany, yeah, and giving it to all of his new friends in the Allied countries, yeah, and that is Russia too, because remember that they are led by Stalin, and he has gifted the whole of that massive country for his role in his English trained, yeah, role as one of those three wise men that have taken over the world. And that is the James Blunt song, yeah, that that they sing about Where Are We Now? No, that's David Bowie, and that's the German Berlin story, yeah. The James Blunt is Three Wise Men song, yeah, and that is the same as the Three Wise Men for Jesus, and Innsbruck is the No Room at the Inn. Yeah, okay, so there is he went to work for the German chemical giant IG Farben, yeah, then the world's fourth largest company, which survives today as BASF, AGFA, yeah, and Bayer, the Bayer Rothschilds. He lodged with the exiled nobleman Count Pavel Kotzebue and his wife, the American-born Elaine Chew, yeah, that's Duns Chew, where Dr. Stephen Andrew Hancock lives, in the constituency of Whitney, which is Whitney Harris, the inquest chair. Yeah, that is the constituency for David Cameron that has buggered off because he is a total fraud, yeah, and he is Camerinus in the Roman court all those years ago. After training, Bernhard became secretary of the board of directors at the Paris office in 1935 for Rothschild, yeah, in the place where Mrs. Simpson and the abdicated king were partying through all of the war. Right, okay, he met Princess Julliana at the 1936 Winter Olympics at Garmisch-Partenkirchen. So he's in the Bilderbergers in the Alps. They're at the Winter Olympics in the Alps. Juliana's mother, Queen Wilhelmina, had spent most of the 30s looking for a suitable husband for Juliana. As a Protestant of royal rank, the Lippe Biesterfields were a sovereign house in the German Empire. Bernhard was acceptable for the devoutly religious Wilhelmina. Wilhelmina left nothing to chance and had her lawyers draft a prenup. They were married at The Hague, where the war crimes inquests still take place, on 7th January 1937. Earlier, Bernhard had been granted Dutch citizenship and changed the spelling of his names from German to Dutch. Previously styled as Serene Highness, he became a Royal Highness by Dutch law. The eldest daughter is Princess Beatrix, the bear in the woods too, former Queen of the Netherlands, and that is all the rotten red shields, and the Judengash jokes that are the little red women, and the Jewish ghettos that you saw in that opening movie clip from Schindler. Former Queen of the Netherlands. His other daughters with Julliana are Irene, Marguerite, Christina, blind at birth. Right, let's get a move on. So there's the Kevin Spacey look-alike. He has two illegitimate daughters. The first is Alicia von Bielefeld, whose mother was not being identified. She is a landscape architect and lives in the United States. Prince Bernhard's sixth daughter, Alex Grinda, is his child by the French socialite and fashion model Elaine Grinda. December 2008, Dutch historians. So this is the Jonathan Aitken story about Prince Bernhard and Aitken's mother, having the affair, and he is the friend of Rebecca Strongmeyer, but also the friend of Mark Thatcher, who's never had his profiteering, fast cars, war weapons inquests in Africa, which is why they are working with Rebecca Strongmeyer as the cover, and they are the Rothschilds in Frankfurt. When her grandfather, I think, or her grandfather-in-law, who was, I think it was George Strongmeyer, and that is a massive lie, because all of the Rothschilds institutions have continued to work out of Frankfurt. That is the European Central Bank and all of the World Bank and the banking frauds. Okay, so when they shag women, they launch Lady Penelope into the public eye. And it is absolutely sickening. So the mother was Penelope Maffei. Prince Bernhard was a member of the Reiter SS, a mounted unit, the Piso horse, authored as for Schindler, and joined the Nazi party. He later joined also the Communist, that is the National Socialist Motor Corps. Can you see now why when the British Lions were in New Zealand, they were riling up the biker mafias? All of the stories have to be covered, and all of the profiteering now goes on, and now there is no amateur sport, and now all of the Paralympic events and even the tennis have legless victims of their unjustified wars. Let's just look at the pictures. Sorry, I talk too much. This is the secret services in the wartime. It is totally sickening. Prince's brother, Prince Ashwin of Lippe Biesterfield, was an officer in the German army. Although the secret services on both sides were interested in this peculiar pair of brothers, no improper contacts or leaks of information were ever discovered. The people who look for that are Ian Fleming and Churchill, the profiteers, the biggest of the lot, right up the food chain in Operation Winnie the Pooh. The prince had then proved himself to be a loyal Dutch citizen and officer. He cut off relations with those members of his family who were still enthusiastic Nazis, like he had been right up to Hitler's storming into his country. As a sign of his Dutchness, he spoke only Dutch when negotiating the surrender of German forces in the Netherlands. That is when the forces come back across, and they begin to repatriate the countries that Hitler took from them. And that's the flattening of Dresden, and all of the war treasures and the art galleries are full of the artifacts there. The prince's mother was no admirer of the Nazis and got into trouble for refusing to hoist the swastika flag on her country seat at Reckenwald. This is ironic, because this is one of Britain's greatest heroes. Yeah, the Montgomerys are the Douglases and the Dukes of Buccleuch. Yeah, that's Sarah Montgomery on Radio 4 every fucking morning telling the lies about everything that they're telling you about our country. Yeah, and its great history and its financial prospects are totally lies, which is why Osborne has gone, and he is just a Navy training unit. Yeah, the Osborne training unit for the navies. Yeah, that Prince Bernhard was in for a while. Yeah, with Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery. You remember him? Massive presence in all those Hollywood movies and the films they make about all of those three wise men meeting all over the world in the global summits. Yeah, they are the Dukes of Buccleuch, with homes all over elite Britain. Okay, and there is Queen Juliana and President of the United States Harry S. Truman. Yeah, that is the Truman and First Lady Bess Truman at Washington National Airport. These are the regimes that are in charge of the war, and Truman got a massive bung to partition Israel. I think it was $2 million at that time. Yeah, and that is the Balfours and Arthur Balfour, not of the local family. Yeah, I'd love to meet William and have a chat with him and take him to the fishing. So, Second World War, let's just look at the pictures. I keep saying that, but I never obey my own commands. Yeah, on the recommendation of Bernard's friend and admirer, King George V, who was also of German aristocratic descent through his mother Mary of Teck. Yeah, she's in the King's Speech movie, sitting in the background, and his great-grandfather, Prince Albert. Yeah, that is the poof that never got to have sex with Queen Victoria. Yeah, because his prick was on the end of a chain. Yeah, and that is how they get through the risk of getting those horrible diseases. Okay, so he was screened because of his Germanic background by intelligence officer Ian Fleming, the biggest fraudster in the world, who still ran the 2012 Olympics joke, yet with Mr. Bean, about the cull of all of the Anzac war dead playing the organ. Yeah, and the Chariots of Fire movie, Fort Putnam. Yeah, from the Little Red joke that is German measles, that was the autism controversy and the MMR controversy, and everybody keeps their head down worrying themselves sick about that, and the global banks are crashed in the background and nobody gets fucking convicted. And in the war, all of the innocents get convicted and shot down by the firing squads, and that is the name that we just mentioned, the man with the Cockney accent, that is the bloodline for the Queen here in the Dutch royals. Yeah, the Krams or the Krems. Yeah, and he was later given work to do on the Allied War Planning Councils, so that's where he makes his money, on the aircraft. Yeah, and then he has to concede to that and he has to drop out. Pictures only, pictures only. Yeah, there she is, looking like the bulldog with the fur coat on for the Bears and the Hudson's Bay Company that is Rothschild. And Barry Taylor and all my mates in the professoriate in New Zealand, and my Auntie Mary Callender, yeah, formerly Taylor. Prince Bernhard with the Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, yeah, that is in Tehran, where one of those summits was held with the three wise men and Beaverbrook and all the war profiteers. Yeah, Prince Bernhard and Queen Juliana with President of Indonesia Suharto. He was the one that JFK was talking to about releasing the collateral gold from all of the victim countries all over the South Pacific, where Honolulu is. Yeah, Pearl Harbor is. Yeah, that's the blight of the American world, and FDR and his his ancestor that was Teddy, yeah, that is the Bears in the Wood for the Rothschilds joke, and all of them are the Rotten Rose, yeah, the Roosevelt stories. It's the same elite families through all of world history. Okay, so that is the Indonesian people. yeah, that were the victims of the Japanese too in the story. And this one's got the leopard skin hat on, and his name is C.T. Hartena at Sustian during a state visit on September 1970. Prince Bernhard and President of Zaire Mobutu Sese Seko in Kinshasa, and there is the Dalai Lama, and all of the false religions are in the money stream. Yeah, 9th October 1973. And that is the Nepal joke, the Naples joke, that all of the Bibles, all of the religions are launched by the Pisos, yeah, in Naples, which is Nepal if you twist it around. Queen Julliana and Prince Bernhard in the Mafia, returning from Porto Ercole, Italy, due to developments in the Lockheed scandal. So she's got a gas mask on in the back for a joke, yeah, and he's looking quite confident as the Mafia boss. Right, I think I'm going to go to another tab, because there's another set. Yeah, so this is the Fokker aircraft and KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. Can you see how they take that over immediately post-war? And within a few years he had been invited to serve as an advisor or non-executive director of numerous corporations and institutions. That's Philips Light Tubes in 1954 that run the narcotics for Prince Philip. There have been claims about KLM helping Nazis to leave Germany for Argentina, where the new Dutch Queen comes from. She's lovely, and her dad was the man that was the administrator in the regime for General Vidal, who was the Prime Minister in the junta in Argentina, and he gave confession to Pope Francis. And all of it is the same story as The Godfather. Yeah, and all of the big cities in the world are dismembered by the narcotics, and this lot party all over every war. Yeah, even the global warming scams and the global education scams. Rebecca, you've not fulfilled your pledge to talk to me and explain your innocence about the Rothschilds restarting in Berlin. Brandywine. Yeah, Prince Bernhard was heralded by the media as a business ambassador extraordinaire for the Netherlands. Yeah, that's the launch of Bilderberg and all of the frauds, all of the banking crashes, all of it done behind closed doors with no press in present, and even if they are, they're owned by the Rothschilds. This is something that I learned. The idea for the European Union was first proposed, yeah, by Robert Schumann. That's the same Schuller families, yeah, and the sons of the shoemakers that take you into the Warner Brothers stories and all of the stories about Archbishop Hoodle being the son of the shoemaker, and all of that is Schumacher, who had that horrible accident, like Fiennes' wife, not Fiennes, the other one who played Schindler. His wife died on the ski slopes. Yeah, and they think they're really clever till the God catches them. Yeah, and she was in the Time team, yeah, laughing at all of those jokes by Rick Mail, yeah, about Flash, and yeah, how you could get sexed up in every great conflict as the wives were losing their heads in the court. Yeah, Queenie she was called. Yeah, she died a horrible death on the ski slopes at Davos. Right, I think we'll go to, let me show you the Born Blind Daughter. So here's the Hoffmans. In the middle of the 50s, Prince Bernhard was involved in a personal vendetta against Griet Hofmans, a faith healer, yet nothing of significance. Let's show you the Born Blind story, and that is the real risk. Yeah, that's why they want rid of polio, yeah, which FDR got way before he began to become the presidential candidate. Princess Christina and George Guillermo in 1975. You can see, I think she's blind in both eyes, but she's got a palsy, and she's got a distended right eye, I think. Okay, and he's a Havana-born Cuban exile named George Perez. Guillermo himself, a teacher in the Addie Mae Collins Mafia's shelter, and of Harlem and a former hotelier. So that's the Harlem Globetrotters. That is Pearl Harbor, the joke about the Oyster Bay place that is right next door to Harlem. Yeah, and the spark point for both of those Roosevelt family members and leaders for all of the wars that we've been involved in. Yeah, and the Teddy one gets to be in the museum film because he's one of America's greatest presidents, which is why he is on the Mount Rushmore bloodlines. All four of those presidents take you back to the Piso Bible authors and HRH the Queen and the Versailles bloodlines. Yeah, and the revolutionaries get them in the stories that they write. Okay, Little Red, let me show you some of the medical evidence. Yeah, so she was blinded at birth because she got German measles. Do you get it? German. Her dad is a German. All through his life he's a German, and he's able, when the Germans are defeated, yeah, because everybody turns around on them, yeah, and that's why the Valkyrie film is so tragic, and that's Greg Hallett has explained it entirely in his interviews, and how the body doubles took the place of the people, yeah, and Hitler walked safely out of the building. Okay, and there is the cataracts due to congenital rubella syndrome, yeah, born blind. Okay, intrauterine infection by the rubella virus and comprises cardiac, cerebral, ophthalmic and auditory defects. It may also cause prematurity, low birth weight and neonatal thrombocytopenia, anemia and hepatitis. Okay, the risk of major defects or organogenesis is highest infection in the first trimester of your pregnancy with all of his mistresses. Yeah. CRS is the main reason for a vaccine for rubella was developed. Okay, and let me just see if we can see the declaration that this is the little red disease. Okay, so you get pneumonia as a concomitant part of the weakening of your immune system. You get glandular issues. Yeah, it's rare in the infants or those over the age of 40. The older the person is, the more severe the symptoms are likely to be. Up to 60% of older girls of women experience joint pain or arthritic type symptoms with rubella. Okay, the rash of measles is typically pink or light red. Let me show you that. There we go. And that reminds me of the Horsey film with Elizabeth Taylor in it called National Velvet, about the little boy, yeah, with the spiders in the jam jars, and he had freckles like that. Yeah, that's maculopapular rash of rubella. Yeah, and when you look at all of the palatinate jokes, yeah, about my tonsillitis issues, all of the naming of all of the anatomy of our body parts, particularly those that are involved in speech and telling the Bible story, you've got the Piso word in it. Thank you to Dr. Cameron for all of those loyal gestures that the family doctors made, yeah, coming out in the dead of night to give birth to people in our cottage hospitals. All of that is gone now. Yeah, on the west coast of Scotland, where the head of the BBC used to live, on an island that was only reachable by an elite yacht, you had to take your babies all the way around the coast to Aberdeen. Yeah, it's just massive. Right then, so where is the declaration that this is? Okay, here it is. The name rubella is from Latin and means, yeah, so that is the little red doll for Fergie in the 101st floor of the Twin Towers buildings that were brought down so that Tony Blair and the war criminals and the people that were with the Lions in 2005 in New Zealand playing sport could asset strip the whole of the world, and the last 4 or 5 countries to go to lose their central bank were Cuba, yeah, you just heard about that in a mafia context, where Lebanon, Libya, Iraq and Afghanistan, and that's the end of the story. The global domination of every country in the world, and they're still afraid that the gods will get them, and I believe that the gods will get them in the end. Yeah, and it's quite funny when you find that out for the first time and you realise all of the propaganda that is behind